You're listening to Relatable with Stephanie Michelle, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Relatable. I'm your host, Stephanie Michelle, and today I'm reflecting on a lot of things. In particular, the last time I wore the dress that I have on was for a funeral, and I thought that nothing could be more appropriate today because, of course, Sunday was another tragic day in our U.S. history. Nobody knows what to say anymore. I don't know what to say anymore, and I like to talk. But perhaps that's the opportunity. Some are frustrated with people saying, our thoughts and prayers are with you. And I get it. I get tired of phrases that are overused and become really popular via social media. But I understand that people don't know what to say anymore, and this seems that this is the best that we can come up with is, our thoughts and prayers are with you. But is it? We don't seem to have a problem with sharing our soundbite thoughts via social media. But what if we took that further? What if we shared the thoughts we had and then turned them into action? What if we prayed every day for things that matter to us and not waited for a tragedy to pretend like prayer is something we do and believe in? What ifs are we missing? In the next few days, we'll be waiting to hear the motive behind the Vegas shooter. Why? Why wait? Why do we need to deem this person demonic or this event just another isolated incident? What if it turns out that he had no motivation? Or what if his motive was to make a point about gun control? Or if he just wanted to be infamous? Or if he was suffering from isolation and depression? Or what if he was influenced by some bit of misinformation, i.e. fake news, and he acted on it? What incident, what will make any of this change? I believe if we wait for this is the opportunity. I believe as we wait for this is the opportunity. Listen to your inner voice, connect to something that you believe in, and do something about it. It does not take some grand gesture. Start with what you know and then just move on from there. What has continued to concern me about the perpetrators in these mass shootings is there's always a pattern of isolated behavior in their history. I'm saddened and terrified when I think about what happens to a person that gets isolated from society and how we treat them, how we treat people that's different. We are disconnecting from each other at an alarming rate. We are losing our ability for empathy, and our appetites to devour and consume anything that's put in front of us is increasing. I urge this. Stop. Slow down. I've said it so many times here. Just slow down. Listen to yourself, and then reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody if you're having thoughts that don't seem aligned for your better good or for other people. Say you need to talk. And reach out to people that you haven't heard from in a while and just ask them, are you okay? And I mean reach out. I mean call. Set a time to meet with someone. Don't just text, and text only to say, hey, let's schedule something. Let's focus our concerns on our local communities via our personal networks and encourage other people to do the same. Let's all find issues that we care about, and when we do, take actions in those areas. So what's your issue? Is it suicide prevention? Is it isolation? Is it gun control? Is it community development? Is it focusing on increasing integrity in government and media? What is it? Find it. Finding purpose is a significant action because it's impossible not to infect other people and influence them when you start acting on purpose. With words inspired by the late, great Tom Petty, don't back down. You know what's right. You have just one life. In a world that keeps pushing us down, stand your ground. I'm really glad that we were already going to be talking about finding your purpose on today's show. So I'm dedicating this show to everyone listening to everyone that's listening, and for them to just listen to their inner voice and have discernment over hate and judgment. It's about stepping out in love, even in times of fear, to do something that you believe in. And I'm really thrilled to be joined in the studio today by somebody that I know is doing just that. And so my guest today is Cece Reagan. Hi.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi. And I'm going to tell you, let me just read a little bit about her before we start today's interview. So Cece Reagan is a writer, a director, and a producer. Her comic web series, Off and Running, premiered at Paramount Studios in 2012. In addition to her own projects, Cece has worked on various film and television productions since 2000. Her short films have been showcased in numerous festivals. She's an advocate for education and human rights. And she has been a guest speaker on producing new media at the 2000 Silicon Valley Latino Leadership Summit at Stanford University. She's also spoke at TED Talk in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. She is currently developing her first sci-fi drama film, feature film, called Interference.
Yes.
Yes.
That is me.
It's so weird to hear your bio read, right? Like all the things.
It's like, wow,
Yeah.
I got a lot more work to do.
Yeah. Well, so before we talk about purpose and like how you found yours, I always ask guests to, give them the opportunity, if you have anything that you want to share, to just get off your chest, like I just did.
In response to what you just shared, which I thought your words were absolutely beautiful and striking to reflection.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is what you're not going to find in social media right now. I think everyone needs to just absorb. We've absorbed enough tragedy. If you are not one of the people that are in it,
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you hear people say prayers, it's because that is the only human thing they know how to do at that moment, to feel they have control. So I don't think it is a moment to turn it negative and make it about a religious thing or not a religious thing. Tragedy happened. There's tragedy everywhere right now. So I think what we can do humanly is to find hope. And I actually somehow, when I write on social media, there will be like that little, gold nugget that pops out. And I wrote, hope is the direction of solution, but I put it as like solution.
Yeah.
I thought that was so, it was a really cool aha for me, that we use this word all the time, solution, solution, solution. But what if it's about your soul? Like, what is your solution for your soul? And I think when it comes to these moments of seeing these outrageous things that we can't believe at this time in space, like, how are we still living like this? Mm-hmm. Find your reflection, find your peace of what can you do today, as you were saying, within your local community, even amongst your family. Find some peace today just in your day, in your house. And that will create a reaction to maybe when you step outside and you see that grumpy, disgruntled driver, smile at them,
Mm-hmm.
Make a reaction happen to them that, you know what, today is different. Mm-hmm. Today that person didn't cut me off. Today that person waved hi. That's how you start a chain of reaction. So that would be my
I love it.
Piece.
I love what's coming up for me when you share that is, the solutions that we come up with that are deep from our soul seem to have a bigger impact. Like they have the ability to connect. If you believe we're all connected, which I do. I mean, this is why I do this show. I really believe we need to get back to that my personal actions have an effect on other people. Yours do. Everybody has the ability to affect others and influence others, and we're connected in weird ways.
Yeah.
So connecting with that soul first, and that creating that ripple that connects other people is so poignant. I like that you had your aha moment when you thought of that.
I think that's what it is. Like, every day you wake up, we're starting over. Every day, start over, reset. How can I make today even better? How can I be proactive? Or how can I just take time for me? Mm-hmm. How do I find that silence of saying, you know what? No, this other person doesn't get to be on my time. This is my time now. And how do I get to find what's best for me today so that I can love other people, that I can create better opportunities for other people? I mean, that's what it's about, and that's what storytelling is.
Yeah.
Is that sharing. And Facebook, you know, people can be negative to it or positive with it, but it's giving you an open form of sharing your story. Any of these social media sites is sharing your story. You never know who's looking at it. So, you know, I always just try. I love the mantra, be the change you wish to see in the world, because it always resonates. It sits right back in of, you know, you feel like posting the flower, post the flower, because someone may have never seen that flower before, and you just awaken them.
Yeah. I like to think, too, like whatever you lean into, you create an opening for. So if you're leaning into hate and that's the thing that you put out, you know, you know what? You're going to wake up with a lot of hate in your heart. Like, but if you lean into being grateful, if you lean into, like, loving on your neighbors or strangers and being inspirational, it actually comes back to you.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Well, so, yeah.
I'm like, feel it.
I feel it. I say this a lot in here. You know, one of the reasons I do the show is just to show how just sitting down with someone and having a focused conversation can be really meaningful. It's not, and we don't have to stay positive for the conversation to be meaningful, but it's important, you know, to feel this connection. And yeah, I often say I wish people could feel what I feel right now, because I feel we're on the same wavelength. That, you know, we're wanting to be inspirational and lean into something.
We're engaged, and I think that word is something that people need to recognize with themselves. Like, why are you engaged with a conversation of hate, or why are you engaged with, you know, negative things? And it's because there's something inside of you that hasn't healed yet. There's a part of you that is angry, and I don't say, you know, it's okay to be angry, but recognize that, you know, connect the dots of being like, why am I angry today? Why does that? Was there a moment in your life before that triggered and you were like, I wish I could have said this? Then find that healing, find that peace, even if it's just in yourself. Like, yeah.
You're also talking about a thing that I love to talk about in here, why questions. Like asking yourself, why? Yeah. Asking, you know, if you want to feel connected with somebody else when they say something and you don't necessarily agree, ask why. You know, tell me more about that. Like, I'd like to understand, why is that? And it's usually a couple whys before you get to like, whoop, that's it. That's what's causing the anger. That's, you know, that's what's causing you to react the way that you're reacting. Yeah. Well, let's talk about you. You know,
okay.
Yeah, you're like, okay, fine. I'm a writer. I like to write. You know, so I know we're going to get to really hearing about what your purpose is, but I want to back up and just kind of talk about your childhood and maybe what started you on the path of what you're doing right now and caring about the things that you care about.
Okay. Childhood, we were blessed that my father had a job, very good job, and at the same time, people would have told us that we were lower income from the outside, but I never knew that. I just knew that I was lucky to have a mother and a family, and imagination comes out when you have least amount of things to be distracted with. Yeah. So I didn't know that was my forming of creation of storytelling, but I am Mexican American, and there's a lot of fun mythical folklore that goes around with our culture as well. So accepting, like, you know, that there was this La Llorona that could appear any moment, and ghosts were really big about ghosts. Yeah. That sort of stimulation to your mind of your imagination, I think really created this supernatural world for me to play in as a kid. But, you know, I didn't have any formal training. I didn't even know I could be a filmmaker. I loved movies. That was our best escape. And at the same time, I was talking to my cousin the other day, and I recognized that a lot of the movies I was attracted to as a kid were, you know, supernatural, E.T., you know, anything Spielberg did. It was an escape, you know, it was an escape of maybe processing as a child just so much information. I'm a child of the 80s, so I was technically still before the big internet, and it's information that came through that you were just recognizing, like, wait, how come there's no one that looks like me? How come I want to be a superhero? And, you know, in my head, I would just envision this white Superman in my body and just flying around my, you know, neighborhood, or, you know, those type of things, you know, they kind of just sat back in my subconscious. And as I became educated and as I started, you know, I was a weird sixth grader. Like, I was the kid that was at the library for fun, like finding books about psychology and behavior and what are our archetypes and why do people connect the way they do, and why is it this type of friends that like me and these type of friends they
I
don't
was
connect.
that weird kid too.
Yeah,
We should have been in the same sixth grade.
That's
We
probably
would have
why
company.
we connected.
Yeah.
And that's, I was very drawn to Greek mythology. I love seeing all the different aspects of, it was different personality types that were displayed in these goddesses and gods. So that's my childhood in, I guess, a circle, we'll say,
Yeah.
of leading into, and I actually wanted to be a lawyer, actually. In seventh grade, I pursued, communicating and sharing with people. I want to be a lawyer. And then that led to, that was it in the back of my head, not art.
I wonder, do you remember, were you given one of those tests of like career tests and you were told you were supposed to be a lawyer? Like, was that?
Yeah, there was one of those. I don't remember if it was in middle school specifically or if it was through my Girl Scout troop. I don't remember, but somehow that kind of played in my head, and I would volunteer. I went to like a, this is going to be like where you can go to the courtroom today. But I didn't know like art could be a viable option of a life purpose. So, well,
we definitely weren't encouraged that, because I know that I had the same test and was told I was supposed to be a lawyer or debate or something.
I think that's what a lot of people, those are the designated roles of lawyer,
doctor,
or
lawyer.
Doctor. Yeah, but I mean they're great jobs.
Yeah.
They're if it's your purpose, that's where you should be. But I feel like a lot of people are directed to things that aren't meant for them, and that's where it gets distracting, and that's where people lose hope because they don't know their purpose.
So for you, do you remember some moments where you're like, oh, my purpose is going to be around storytelling? Do you remember some of those key first moments?
In my childhood, or when it actually happened?
Whenever it happened, yeah.
Yeah, it happened when I was in college. I was taking my first art elective, and it was in acting, and I thought, oh, acting's going to be easy. Because I wasn't really educated to know about acting, and as I started the world, my teacher, director, he said, okay, here's your playbooks, these are the choices you're given, and it came up again, of what it is that, who am I? Like, oh, I want to play, the Romeo, Juliet, like, but, then you look in, this is the cool part about acting or in screenwriting, you actually have to give a description. So it said, like Caucasian, female, it never said a Latina or, brown girl. So that to me, it kind of impacted me. It was that moment again where I was like, why am I visualizing to be a white person again? And it's kind of this weird abstract feeling because it's like, why do I do that? And I kind of went home and I was just thinking, staring at the clouds, and I'm like, this is not right. This is actually kind of wrong. And I went to my teacher and I said, is there any like Latino type of plays? And he's like, you know what there is? There's actually some, he suggested some great ones, but there was like two, and stuff that people hadn't heard about. It wasn't something that you're like, oh, I can really connect to. It was so out there. And at the same time, it was showing me this is how I can create justice in the world, is by, if we see ourselves as heroes, then that's when we can create some really bigger moves versus smaller moves in a court, individual court cases. Yeah. So I was very aware of my time, even at 18, that if I'm going to really spend time in this is not going to be the easy route. This is going to be the hardest thing I've ever decided to do. And I'm sure no one is going to like the fact that their smarty pants daughter, sister, cousin, or their friend they looked up to is choosing to go into screenwriting.
So it sounds like your first motivation was like creating roles for someone like you, like to encourage other women, men, that, that there's no roles for them. So you're like, well, I'll just create them.
Right.
That was
how
your first.
Started, and it definitely wasn't in film because I was in the theater setting. I didn't even know film was an option for me. So you do what you know, and that to me is a simple direction. and it leads to purpose. You know, don't ever think you're too big or you're too good for something. And community theater is what gave me this foundation to explore myself. I had a wonderful director at Rio Hondo College, and they had a one-act festival, and it was like a 10-minute play that you got to write. And at first I thought, well, why can't we just do, you know, something else or something bigger? And I'm looking for these like Latino stories. And then I didn't recognize the power he was giving us by saying, hey, I'm giving you permission to write your own play. And I did that, and I took it, and of course I wrote a romantic comedy that had a serial killer in it. And those, to me, that was really cool that I could write that, because no one would expect that from a woman that looks like me and that it came from a Latino, you know. Of course. So that to me was so powerful, and I remember it was called Iris.
Is there tapes out there floating around?
You know what? I actually was thinking about that. My 5-year anniversary came of off and running yesterday. Wait, what's today? The 3rd? So 2 days ago, the 1st. And so I started watching old YouTubes of my stuff, and then I thought, I wonder if anyone has that 10-minute play. That'd be so cool to see.
Yeah, you got to put that out there.
I got to find it. I remember someone said that there's a record of it.
Someone has it.
Yeah.
So you were doing the unexpected, writing roles for people like you. Where did like certain topics start to show that, hey, these are the things that I want to write about? Because you're pretty set on some topics, right, that you really want to get out there?
You know, I didn't recognize it till I had a friend from Cal State Long Beach. I ended up transferring to Cal State Long Beach, and that's where I got my film degree. And they said, hey, you know, you always have this theme of family. And I'm like, well, of course, that's very, you know, strong in my Mexican culture. So there is definitely themes of family, of finding yourself. And at the same time, there's invisibility. That's a really big deal, which you may sound negative, but it's what I'm living, you know. It's becoming visible as an American minority is the hardest struggle I think a lot of people face as entrepreneurs. I call myself an entrepreneur as well because that's what I've had to do to be visible in the media. So I've noticed that over and over. There's so many storylines. I even have a film called No Shelter Here, which the lead is actually an Asian male. And to me, it transfers into a lot of minorities of feeling visible. So that's where I thought this is a recurring issue that I think is so relatable to so many different people, and women included, as part of being discriminated.
That's what I was saying. I was thinking what's coming up from you, and you're sharing that is it's visible in a bigger way because when you're a minority, and I can say this even as a white woman, women are, especially after the election, it feels very different. You know, it feels very different in our country for women. But they're put in boxes, so you can't be a comedian and be a woman. You have to be a female comedian. So you can't be a filmmaker and be Latino. You have to be a Latino filmmaker, right?
Correct.
So you get labeled in these boxes, and a lot of times categories and boxes get put on a shelf. Like people just put it away. Oh, that's what it is. Absolutely. So therefore, she can't do anything other than that box, right?
Yes.
So it's a different kind of visibility that you're talking about that maybe people that are not minority wouldn't understand. It's like, oh, well, they of course get recognition. Well, not recognition from everybody.
Right. And that's something I started noticing. Most of the film festivals I was, getting accepted to, if I didn't know someone, then it was the Latino film festivals that would accept me. Even in that, when I'd go to different film festivals, I was in the Latino bracket, you know. And so that's where I knew this is just part of the journey. There will be an opportunity, and this is where I knew interference was going to be that calling card that was going to break through, the different barriers that were being presented. And that's where I think science fiction is what I love the most,
Well, let's talk. So Interference is your film that you're working on now. I want to backtrack before we start talking about it. Just a question that came into mind. Do you think Emmys or any of these award shows, Oscars, that we still need male and female awards, or should it? What do you?
That's where it's interesting because I am still there is a lot of science in my brain. So to me, not necessarily survival of the fittest, but if it was in equal terms, then I think that would be perfectly fine. We wouldn't need male, female, all these different categories, but it's not equal. So I think that's why we do need more representation. We do need that category now, because or else we're going to be invisible, because there's not the equality of, oh, well, if Steven Spielberg's, can get this funding, I'm not going to get the same funding and expertise that he gets, like I'm not going to be able to pay for that. Yeah. So it all comes back to money and politics.
Resources.
Yeah. And that makes sense. It all goes back to politics. So if it was in an equal board, then yes, I would want just the best film, whoever does the best that connects to people, that absolutely, there should be no categories, but that's where we're at right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. All right. So let's talk about the film that you're working on. So can you tell us what it's about?
I can tell you a little bit, because we're still in development, and it's we're still, in that beginning stage, and I don't unfortunately want anyone to steal it. So that's the world we live in. But essentially it's about a young woman who's being tracked by the government because she has a secret that they do not want to come out. And it's literally, it's a metaphor, of everything that's going on in the world, of how most people feel disconnected to leadership. Why can't, if the people, we in our Constitution say we, the people of America, we're the power, then why can't we be a part of that power play of making choices? We believe our vote is lost. So many people have lost hope. So that's where my film is, I believe, going to be a universal story, because that's what I think is very in tune right now.
So without giving it away, it's this broader topic of injustices.
Right.
And is there anything else that you can kind of hint that it's about this, or I'm drawn to this kind of content?
Well, it's a sci-fi. So the sci-fi aspect is, evolution, we'll say. We're not talking about X-Men. We're talking about a realistic setting of what does it mean if we were to evolve to have new gifts, so beyond our five senses. What does that mean? And why wouldn't the elite or government want us to have that? So
wouldn't they want us to have it? Yeah.
Or why would they, prevent us? So interference is using those topics to navigate the storyline of Sophia, which is the lead, and she would be a Latina. And, she's just your everyday American girl, and educated, but is living that life that people can't get that break. And how do we break through? So having a government, black operation program stopping you is definitely where it becomes more of that thriller action.
And is she... and I might, if I'm stretching, tell me, but it almost sounds like she's kind of finding her purpose in this film too.
Absolutely.
Like she's maybe, like it's something that she would maybe be persecuted for having this purpose, but like she's going to have to run with it.
No, your intuition is correct. And that's where I think a lot of people will connect to this, because we all have that gut feeling. And we say it all the time. We communicate, oh yeah, my gut tells me this, my gut, like who told you to say that, I had a friend tell me once that the word gut is actually Romanian for God. And I thought, interesting. So if there's this voice, that kind of leads you like sonar, like whales have sonar, a lot of, what if humans have that? What if something is actually guiding you? And, removing religion aside, there could be this scientific connection that is being communicated right now through us. And, what is that? That's what my film explores.
And why was it important to you to do this as a sci-fi feature film as opposed to a documentary? Because it sounds like you're educated, you like science, you've probably got a lot of information that you're going to use to create this film. Why this format?
That's a really good question. I recently watched, I think it's the 30th or 40th anniversary of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And Spielberg is obviously one of my virtual mentors. Hey, Spielberg, I will happily be an in-person mentee anytime.
He's got a new, I think there's a new show coming out on HBO about him. About his
awesome.
life. Yeah.
So he said in the beginning of the theatrical release of this anniversary, he said, if I told Close Encounters his storytelling, like why he chose it, he's like, I actually wrote this as if it was nonfiction.
Wow.
He said, but everybody else wants to see it as fiction, science fiction. So, you know, whatever you need to do, this is the way I told my story. So that really connected with me because that's exactly how do we explore things is by fictionalizing, by saying something is fact. I think that's even, you know, that's not right because we know that there's facts that have become, you know, obsolete after so many X amount of years when we have science and technology at, you know, rapidly changing. So using fiction is the way to explore, and it allows the imagination for everybody to have aha moments, not just certain people that understand science lingo or this documentary. I mean, the person that I want to reach is, you know, the hundreds of millions of people that are out there like every day. Like, why is this happening? Why do I feel I don't belong here? You know, I should have been born at a different time. I mean, there's so many people that feel disconnected. And if I told it as a documentary and shared all these backstories, then that audience wouldn't be there. They're not looking for that. They're looking for imagination. And that's what I'm going to give them. I want to give them my pure imagination, at least for my experiences and everything that is coming through.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But also what's coming up for me when you share that is what's happened that facts are so, you know, such a weapon. Like we are really turned off by facts. Like we don't talk to our neighbors because of facts. And we hate them, and we have this thing called fake news, and it's like, what's happened? You know? I mean, you know, I guess maybe when the truth hits a little close to home is when people get uncomfortable. And my hope is that curiosity saves the day. It's like, okay, just sit with it, be curious about it, you know, which you can do when you're watching a story or when you're hearing a story, but be curious about it and have dialogue about it.
And that to me is the best thing about being a filmmaker is that I get to provoke, you know, communication after the film. Like people will see something, they'll react, they'll be crying, they'll be happy, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this, you know, connected the dots for me. And now they get to go home, they're gonna talk to people, they're gonna share. I mean, that's the whole point. I think the second part of being a filmmaker is that I've created something that now is a memory. And you are now, I'm a part of it, you know, in that processing forever. I think that is so cool.
I love it. How do you stay, so this is obviously your purpose, storytelling, you know, putting light on topics that are not out there, and people, like people that feel that they're invisible, and purpose that maybe feels invisible. How do you stay motivated when things get tough? I know, you know, doing a feature film comes with a lot of work, finding finance, you know, finding the right team. Like, what keeps you in it when it gets really tough?
You know, I spent a lot of time making sure that no matter what, that I always love what I'm doing. Like, at the end of the day, I'm at peace with what I created, and I love it. And I think having that mindset of that it's not about the fantasy of filmmaking, the luxury, the, you know, money, that I'm creating because I want to create. And yes, a lot of people are like, well, how can you do that living, you know? But at the end of the day, it's about finding that circle of support. Support is huge, and aligning yourself with people that want to work towards the same goal. As a filmmaker, I have to work with a team, and, you know, it's very hard to find that right team. And so, you know, it took me 3 years to write this script. And in that 3 years, I was manifesting. I was thinking about who would these wonderful humans be. And I say humans because I'm not purposely trying to find only this person or only females or who are these lights. I do see every human as a light, a soul. So if I'm going to share with the world what is being communicated through my story, then I want to make sure that everybody that's aligned with my storytelling is also ready to shine and bring their best potential out. And that's really important. That to me aligns everything. That's when we can sit together, we can get through war. I mean, I don't like to say that because it sounds so, dramatic, but when you're a filmmaker, I mean, me dressed so, sweet and clean, I'm in my tennis shoes, I'm in my jeans, I'm out there working with my crew, and we're literally, in the dirt. We're working long hours, sweat and tears, and those are the people you depend on. They become your brothers and sisters, and you're gonna fight to the end to get everything done and completed. And so that's how I stay motivated, is knowing that the people I'm surrounding myself are going to keep me accountable. I'm going to keep them accountable. And it's having that, it's all about your perspective.
Yeah. I love, obviously, the idea of like relationships and bringing the right people together, but there's something really awesome that I've been exposed to, and I know you'll be able to speak on this too, is like when the right people come together, like the creative process is so amazing. It's so contagious. It's so inspirational, because like you're over here going, oh, I got this. And then somebody is on this other, on your team is saying, and here's the perfect thing for that. And it's just amazing how it comes together, right? It's like there's inspiration in the cycle or in the journey, and not just the completed project.
Oh, absolutely. Every time I complete a project, I always have that reflection. We end up talking, having discussions with the team and the crew, the cast, and it's this like whirlwind experience that everyone has. They get through things, they flesh things out. It's like we grow together. And if people aren't experienced that, be patient. To me, I've met so many people in my life that they are struggling at their job, and they're just like, why? When's it gonna be my break? When's it gonna be my time? And that's something that you face as an artist. It's that constant struggle of believing in yourself. But patience is also a very important thing to accept, and the word acceptance, accepting that this is part of the journey, and at the right time it will align. And if that time, it doesn't come when you want it, it's not meant to happen. You can't force things.
I would add consistency as a part of that mix too. I mean, yes, like we want everything to happen when we want it to happen, and we're doing this comparative narrative to like our friends on Facebook or like the people that we follow on Instagram. They're like, they got their moment, why didn't I get our moment? But everybody's moment happens in the right time. But I really truly believe that we should demystify success and just talk about consistency, because people that I know that are successful, like they just stayed at it no matter what. Like people were going, why are you doing this? And like, I don't get it. And, and they just stayed at it. And like, there's something about, consistency, you'll get there. Yeah. You cannot not get there.
No,
if you're moving towards something.
I completely 100% agree with you. And that's something I do share. Like I talked to my husband's, he's a teacher. He teaches at California High School. And I spoke to, his classes. And when you're looking at the eyes of these, they're still children, and they're about to head out in the world, and all they're thinking about is AP classes. Am I good enough? Am I getting the right college? They're already looking at not getting into certain colleges as they already failed in life. That's it. I'm a loser. Here we go. And, you see these high rates now of like suicide and depression, and, and at the end of the day, it's because they just have so much input. They have so much input. They're being surrounded by all these different stories, and everything's perfect. No, nothing is perfect. No. Like it takes so much hard work, and it is consistency. It's about continuing every day, waking up. Think of yourself like an athlete. Like in order to be the best, you have to work at it every single day.
Totally. And I think our school brain tells us there's a right and a wrong answer. There's always a right answer, but in reality, in our adult life, it's like it's just different pieces that come together. It's not like, well, this was absolutely the right thing to do. It's just like, it's just this evolution, and we're not prepared to have, well, there's like several right things that you could do, that will take you a little bit further on that path. And I think that, gets confusing as a child as well. Well, what else, just to drive this point of purpose home, like You have said some things that are very encouraging. Like, what else do you want to share that if someone's like really struggling to find purpose, and it's not about how big or small the purpose is, just purpose, like something that gets you to wake up every day and go, I got this. I'm excited to do this. Like, what would you say if someone was struggling to find that? I
would say just, look at the things around you and what is it that makes you say, oh, I love this, I think that's always a determining factor of where you're going to put your priorities.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of us get stuck in the illusion of, oh, this is my purpose because I want this. And they're thinking in the future. So if you can't see it today in the now, then maybe that isn't your purpose.
That's a really good point. Like, if you can't find a step that you can make right away, challenge yourself. Is this really it? If it's like, oh, my purpose will only happen once I have 2.5 kids and a husband and this house and stuff, and then I'll be living a purpose. Like, if you can't move towards it in the moment,
right?
I think that's really good.
And if maybe there's no steps in front of you, then get out of the house and go connect the dots.
There's always a step.
Find a mentor, But that's the thing. If you go out there and you're just like, oh, today I want to be a video game producer, and you've never known anyone, you never met anyone, this is what I tell a lot of students, like, Google it. You have the internet.
Totally.
TED Talks are amazing.
Yeah.
You have people that have worked consistently on their purpose every single day, and they're sharing their stories. They're telling you, this is what I did. So if you connect to their story, then you're similarly aligned. And that means you can take those steps as well to get you to that next step. So I'm not about only focusing on the big goals. I focus on small goals every day.
Mm-hmm.
Small goals of, did I complete information I wanted to share to my producers working with me? Just emails, just basic things of clear communication and setting up, where is our foundation? Where do we see ourselves on an everyday track? And if you can do that, then you're working on your purpose. You're creating purpose. So if you're just sitting there and you're just like, it's never going to happen to me, I took all these classes at school and nothing's happening, and then I think you're in the wrong field. I think that's when you have to go discover, what is it? And that's why I wrote Off and Running, because I wanted people to even accept that your purpose could be, making little wood creatures, or, it's the internet. You have a global market now. Like, you can find purpose in anything you do.
Totally. And, I this vision is popping in my head while you're talking about, like, even if it's like, oh, it just seems so daunting, like, and why purpose? Like, purpose will get you around a lot of deep, dark emotions, really, anger and sadness. Like, it's a health thing to find purpose, I think. But even just like sitting down with your Instagram and like kind of scrolling through with the, nope, that's not it. Like, just feeling how you feel when you're exposed to something, and go, oh, there's something there like that. I just got a little lift of energy. Like, I wonder what that is. Like, what, is this because this person's creating art? Is this because this person is standing up for something that I believe in? Like, I think slowing down enough, like, to go, that felt good, and I'm inspired by that, will help you find it too.
Oh, and there's so many things. I think people also think that the only way they can work towards their purpose is they have money. Oh, if I have money for that conference, or I have money for this. There's so many things you can do without money. Like a million things you can do without money. So, self-reflection, look at yourself. What are my blocks? There's a
Journaling.
lot of, it's all about reflection. So that's, to me, so huge in discovering who you are. And it could happen at any age. And that I completely believe in. I've had many friends where their mothers were homemakers, or they were in a different job and then decided to go back to school after 40, and then they became a completely different career, and then they're their happiest. And it's like, but there's certain circumstances where, like, I'm just too busy, I'm in this chaotic moment, I have all these kids, or I'm in
or
this
it's
job,
too late for me. Hear this a lot. I'm too old.
But
like, no.
if you can find that time of saying, oh, I wish I could have done that, you could be researching towards finding that next step.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I think you said a lot, a lot of really inspirational things about purpose. We're going to switch gears a little bit and do something that I'd like to go off topic sometimes. So I like to show that any given time the circumstances of how we're relating can change. And then I also like to show that there's always more information available. So we've kind of talked about what you do and what you're interested in, but I'm sure there's new things we can find out about you.
Sure.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
You know? So how I do this is just ask a random question.
Oh,
and you
cool.
get your choice between the box or the book.
I want the box.
You want the box? Okay, so I'm just going to grab a card. And they're kind of silly. They're usually pretty silly. Oh, it's upside down. Okay, I don't think we've had this one before. Would you rather be an American Idol judge or a Supreme Court justice?
Wow. So I just have to give an answer.
I'd
rather be a Supreme Court judge.
Yeah. That's kind of, that seems obvious. Like,
yeah.
Based on what you've shared, it's like, to see yourself in that role.
At one point, I did want to be a judge.
Yeah.
And that's where I knew if I was a lawyer, I already looked at the steps ahead.
Yeah.
I became a lawyer, and then I did my time, and then I created, friends and hire the community and then city, and then I could be elected a judge. And I knew those steps going into it. So, and I knew there'd be an X amount of 20 years before you could even go into hire.
You could make a difference.
Easy. Yeah. I mean, they are the top of our, system of law, balance, justice, everything that everyone works for, the philosophy of the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that would be an easy decision, but at the same time, a long time ago, I auditioned for American Idol.
You did?
I did. And back then, it was before they televised the entire Hollywood round.
Yeah.
So Ryan Seacrest actually picked me to go to Hollywood round.
Uh-huh.
And it's just amazing how I then learned about the studio system and the game setting. And American Idol is a game show at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So they also, had their executive producers lined up, and then it had, X amount of girls, and then they were picking who to make fun of. And so there was this one girl that was way better singer than me, and I was like, okay, maybe this is not my purpose. That girl is so much better than me. But anyway,
I want to back up to, just in case somebody missed that, they were picking which ones to make fun of. It doesn't. Good TV, or when you watch these shows and you think it's reality TV and it's all these things are just randomly happening at the moment. No, they're looking for people's stories to pull out to make that person the goofball. And this one, the inspirational story that makes you cry up, so they're
totally. So, and that moment, I'm walking back with the really amazing singer, and I said, you know what, don't even worry about this. This is a game show. And I'm learning about this real quick, and you probably are meant to continue singing. Yeah. I'm like, but don't let this stop you, because that could be,
Do you know where this person is now?
I have no idea. But I remember sharing that with her, and her family was there, and they're all huddling over crying. I'm just thinking, gosh, I'm here by myself, and this really sucks, but I get it. Yeah. It's a show. Yeah. So that's my little thing you didn't know about me.
Yeah, I love it. I didn't expect it. We got two reveals for the price of one. All right. Well, so the one last thing that I like to do on Relatable is what I call a heart swell. And it's just asking the guest to kind of think of somebody that's made a difference in their life, that they just really want to give a shout out to and share something meaningful to that person. The reason that I do that is just kind of show that it shouldn't be scary to share deep emotions, and we all are connected to somebody, and they're making a difference, and these people need to know that that they're impacting you in a certain way. So I like the idea of, as we do this, it just raises the level of compassion and empathy and understanding in the world. So are you willing to do one?
Yeah, it hit me hard right now in my gut. Yeah. And we know now. That means it's hitting the mark. Yeah. I had a college professor at Long Beach, and his name's Larry Smith. Hi, Larry, if you see this. But he taught alternative media. Okay. And that was a course that changed my life. It showed me documentaries. It showed me films that most people aren't going to go watch because it's so graphic and it's very depressing, and really opened my eyes to the Afghanistan war. It opened my eyes to the indigenous people. And Larry Smith has a show on KPFK, and he's constantly revealing and showing people the truth, and how we can just take one of these stories, and if you're looking for an issue, if you don't have a purpose, there's so many issues that people need help, especially in the Indigenous community, that if you could just be support, if you can just stand up and say, hey, how can I help you? Even by reading, by being educated, I think that's so important. He's the one that actually shifted my life into understanding my purpose and being impeccable with my word and making choices, because he showed me the true reality. Like, I was like an American girl like anybody else. I had the bubble. I didn't know I was even Mexican until someone told me, hey, Mexican girl, or I just thought I was Cheyenne, so that's where, for me, that class was so important. And that's why I'm such a huge, I push education, because the more that, even if you take it at a community college, this will expose you to so many things and so many new things, areas in your life that maybe you can make a difference. So he was a huge inspiration to me. And so I want to say thank you, Larry, for continuing to be you and pursuing and helping your people. That's so important to me.
That's awesome. Good shout out. We've had great heart swells to teachers and people that a lot of heart swells to people that passed, and I just love the reminder of, like, never forget how important your impact is. And this person has stayed with you for years and is still affecting your work. Yeah. I'm like, they need to know that. Like, I love that.
I tell them all the time.
It's good. But other people need to know that too. Like, that could be your purpose. Your purpose could be just to put a fire under one person.
Absolutely. So I completely agree.
Well, this has been amazing. I'm really glad that you were here with me today.
Thank you. And thank you for living your purpose to even allow me to have a voice today.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. So I don't take those things very well. I'm like, oh. Your website where people can get in touch with you and kind of probably sign up to be notified when the film is ready to go and out there is ccreagan.com, and I'll share that in the archives. And a lot of times I'll do a social challenge inspired by the show, and I'm feeling like something about just scrolling through your contacts, like your real contacts, your phone numbers on your phone, not social media. Get off social media for this social challenge, but scrolling through them and going, my cousin, I haven't talked to her in a while. Like, call them. And maybe if you're not comfortable calling, because none of us are really anymore, we've gotten out of the habit, is maybe just texting first and like, hey, I want to reach out to you. I want to see how you're doing. Are you okay? But maybe doing like 12 of those. Take a week, but just scroll through. Yeah, I have not seen or heard from this person in a long time. It was a high school friend or a colleague or whatever. That's going to be the social challenge for this week. What do you think about that?
I love it. That's beautiful.
Let's reach out, reconnect, and ask people, how are you? Are you okay? What have you been up to? And if there's hesitant, because we don't do this often enough, like ask when it's okay to do it. Like, schedule a time and make it, a point to just have that conversation with those two people.
Sounds good.
That's all right. I got the endorsement from a storyteller and a filmmaker on the social challenge. I am good. So that is the social challenge of the week. Next week, we're going to be talking to comedian Beth Lapidus about laughter, like, why we need laughter and, why we can't forget to laugh, and, what topics should we open up the laughter on, and which ones maybe we shouldn't. But it's going to be all about laughter, and I think that's really important right now. As always, you can reach out to me on Twitter at LoveMoreNow, on Instagram, Relate with Steph. I will share all of Cece's contacts too, so you can reach out to her and ask more questions. And you'll see the archive of the show on stephaniemichelle.com. And the next public shared experience, PSC, is October 25th at the Relational Center. The Relational Center is one of these places where if you feel like you don't have someone that you can reach out to and say, hey, I'm having these thoughts, it's this kind of place. It's a community place, a community center. And I encourage people, if you're not here in Los Angeles, to find a community center like the Relational Center to have some fellowship and get connected to. And that brings us to the end of the show. And as always, I just want to encourage people to just relate with more curiosity, to, not be so quick to put somebody in a box and label them and go, that's who this person is, but just to ask questions and be curious. Be curious about the news, be curious about your purpose, and be curious with, each other. See you next week.
Bye. Thank you.
You're listening to Relatable with Stephanie Michelle, only on LA Talk Radio.